we are looking at these Truth Social posts from President Trump responding to the breakdown in those talks in Islamabad, those marathon talks that took place. J.D. Vance on his way back to Washington, and we understand that the Vice President and the President kept in close contact, speaking multiple times during the talks, that this is the first response that we've had from the President to the breakdown in the talks. Let's have a look at what he has just put out on Truth Social. Two very, very long posts from him, and we'll give you some of the things that we're wanting to highlight, and then I'll take you through both of those comments. He says, there you have it, the meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not. And here you have it. Effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out. But then further on, he says any Iranian who fires at us or a peaceful vessel will be blown to hell. Iran knows better than anyone how to end the situation, which has already devastated their country. Their navy is gone, their air force is gone, their anti-aircraft and radar are useless. Khamenei and most of their leaders are dead because of their nuclear ambitions. Then he says the blockade will begin shortly. Other countries will be involved in this blockade. Iran will not be allowed to profit off this illegal act of extortion. They want money, and more importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at an appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. And then what you're seeing on your screen now is the True Social post that followed very quickly after that one, in which he talks more extensively about the Strait of Hormuz, saying that Iran promised to open it and they knowingly failed to do so. This caused anxiety, dislocation and pain to many people and countries throughout the world. So he goes on to say the meeting with Iran began early in the morning. It lasted throughout the night, close to 20 hours. I could go into great detail and talk about much that has been gotten, but there is one thing that matters. Iran is unwilling to give up its nuclear ambitions. In many ways, the points that were agreed to are better than us continuing our military operations to its conclusion, but all of those points don't matter compared to allowing nuclear power to be in the hands of such volatile, difficult and unpredictable people, ending it by saying, as I've always said right from the beginning and many years ago, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. There is a lot to unpick from these two posts from President Trump, talking about the US Navy blockading the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, there's very few vessels passing through at the moment as it is, but also the US does have military vessels in the area. They have a few warships in the area at the moment, so perhaps he's thinking of using those to block the strait. In terms of Iran's nuclear ambitions, it was always thought that that would be a key sticking point at the talks, and it seems that we can tell from this Truth Social that progress has been made on other issues, but that indeed is the one that caused the talks to fall apart. So we'll continue to look into this Truth Social comment from President Trump, quite a few contradictions in there as well, and see what we can make of it. But let's bring in more now about the actual Strait of Hormuz, this vital waterway that we talk about so often, so important to people here in the Gulf as well. What will happen there? The US Navy, says President Trump, is going to start blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave it. But remember, a fifth of the world's oil and gas passes through the Strait of Hormuz. It's this narrow stretch of waterway located between Iran, the UAE and Oman. It's only 33 kilometers at its tightest point. So its future is incredibly important. As I mentioned, 20% of the world's oil and liquefied gas usually pass through the strait. And the fact that it's been blocked has led to surging oil prices, surging energy bills around the world. So it was really interesting when I spoke to Dr. Omar Ashur. He's a professor of security and military studies and the founder of the Security Studies program at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. He has done extensive research on security right around this region. He told me more about what is actually happening right now in the Strait.
The main worry is the continuation of the conflict. Both Qatar and Oman are very worried about that. Others are as well quite worried because they were targeted even with heavier intensity. The main problem across the Gulf is that the targets are large. The desalination facilities, the gas facilities, the petroleum facilities, airports, all of them are very large. They are fixed. They cannot be moved. Their location is very well known. So pre-programmed Shahed 136 loitering munitions can go directly there in tens or hundreds.
So how well protected then are these places?
So even if you protect them very well, even if the Iranians, like the Russians do, send 200 of those Shahids per day, if you get 195 of them and 5 made it through, then you still damage the airport, you still damage the salination facility, you still damage the energy facility and so on. So this is the main worry. This is defensively. So they are investing a lot in air defenses. On one end, this is across the Gulf, especially the short-range air defenses, and they are seeking assistance from Ukraine in that sense. But on the offensive side, in terms of opening the straits, all of them have that challenge. We're talking about over 600 ship and tankers are stuck inside the Gulf. We're talking about LNG facilities and other facilities are unable to get their products outside, and therefore they stopped pretty much. So forcing an opening is also a very challenging task.
Can you give us an idea of how dangerous the Strait of Hormuz is right now for a ship that wanted to pass through?
So right now, frankly speaking, it's a strategic win for Iran. Iran has shifted the maritime lane towards close to its borders. And it is able, because of the nature of its strike architecture, despite not having a navy, despite losing operationally in the sea by the US via the US strikes, it still maintains small boats that can attack. It's not just mines; it's more complex than mines because also cruise missiles from the shores can strike very accurately. Anti-ship ballistic missiles, which are very hard to defend against, are very fast and also are available. Plus the loitering munitions and drone threats, whether in the air or in the sea. So it's a very complex strike architecture. We've been there before in the 80s, Praying Mantis and Ernest Will and all these operations. The US conducted between 87 till 89, even after the war, after the Iraq-Iran war, 4 operations. 1 year-long escort operation that was escorting Kuwaiti ships 600 miles from the Kuwaiti ports all the way outside of the Hormuz Straits to avoid being struck by Iran. It was it kind of had a success, but it was accompanied by also special operations, Praying Mantis, they were going after the Iranian assets to undermine the threat. And also this lasted for almost 2 years. So we were talking about very long security investments with the US capabilities of the Cold War era. It was different type of capabilities, and with a threat that was much less than what we have now, and much less complex.
One of the key threats now, surely, and the change since those days, is the use of drones.
Absolutely. That's one key area. And not just the use of drones, the use of drones with that type of quantity and with the capability of regenerating them even after being destroyed, even after 13,000 targets that the US have hit, and about 7,000 that the Israelis have hit. So you were able to still sustain the fight this way, and this is the real issue there.
And when you talk about those numbers, the amount of strikes and the thousands from the US and the Israelis, how much do we actually know about Iran's capabilities at the moment militarily?
It was significantly degraded, so they entered the negotiations bloodied, but for sure not in a defeat. The US was successful, and Israel was successful in suppression and destruction of air defenses. They were, according to the reports that came out, the intelligence estimates that 1/3 of Iranians' ballistic missile capabilities were destroyed. The other 2/3, they're not sure about it, what happened. At least 2/3, they may be under rubble. So the capabilities are degraded, but it's not over. Why? Because Iran has a lot more capabilities when it comes to, 1, regenerating these forces, 2, reconstitutions of units, 3, the continuous. Iran ended this fight on the 39th day with waves of hundreds of drones and tens of ballistic missiles and a number of cruise missiles as well. This is only in the Gulf, plus its allies in the region. So the non-state forces that Iran invested militarily and politically in, You have the Houthis, for example, they did not escalate as much as possible in Bab el-Mandeb Straits. This is if you consider it a non-state force, that is the first non-state force that has anti-ship ballistic missiles and use them with accuracy. A very dangerous type of capability for a non-state force, and in a very strategic strait in Bab el-Mandeb. Until today, the IDF has 6 divisions south of the Litani, an area of about 250 square kilometers. So we're talking about a sort of a regional war with Iran's non-state allies still operating. So you got the long and mid-range strike capability still evident, the non-state forces in strategic locations still active, the capabilities to choose who passes and who gets blocked in the Strait of Hormuz, who gets to pay. I mean, their allies are not paying the toll, the booth toll in the. So they're very selective on who passes with money, who passes without money, and who does not pass at all. So with that picture, it looks to me that they are entering this blooded, but have a significant coercive leverage.
So just to confirm what we've been hearing from President Trump and what we've learned brought an end to the talks taking place in Islamabad. It was, as expected, the stalemate over Iran's nuclear ambitions and Iran's nuclear stockpile, and also its refusal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. We've learned quite a bit, actually, from President Trump's Truth Social comments. Let's just show you them again as we continue to look into what he means with some of his comments. But he has said the US Navy will start preventing ships from passing through the Strait of Hormuz and will stop any vessel that pays a toll to Iran for use of the waterway. And in this post, he accuses Tehran of extortion. Global energy supplies, of course, will remain trapped in the absence of any kind of deal. That will be very worrying when markets open again tomorrow, and for people in this region concerned about what is happening to supplies going through that vital shipping lane as well. So that really dashing hopes that that any agreement could have been reached. And to remind you, 10 days remain in this tenuous ceasefire that we see at the moment, and no word of whether that will continue from President Trump. But what he does say at the end is that the blockade will begin shortly. Other countries will be involved in this blockade. No more details on that yet. Iran will not be allowed to profit off this illegal act of extortion. They want money. More importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at an appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. So that comment, that threat, finishing off that Truth Social post there as well. And in one that he wrote after that, he says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, just saying that it's the nuclear ambitions of Iran that has brought an end to those talks.